Mickey 7 is the book upon which the film Mickey 17 is based, written and directed by Bong Joon-ho, the man behind 2019's Parasite, which, just by the way, chef's kiss on that movie. Definitely one of the best films to release in the last 10 years. Maybe I'll do a video on Parasite at some point. Anyway, written and directed by Bong Joon-ho, the man behind 2014's Snowpiercer, which, man, that one's really good too. This Bong guy, I think he might be someone to watch out for. Anyway, written and directed by Bong Joon-ho. Yeah, that's it. I haven't seen any other movies from him. I want to watch The Host eventually, though. Mickey 17 is a science fiction story revolving around Mickey Barnes, a hapless man who, after getting in debt to a ruthless loan shark, decides with his best friend Timo that the best way to keep their limbs attached to their bodies will be to take the first spaceship they can off Earth to the frozen colony world Niflheim. Mickey, a man of below average intelligence and no valuable skills to speak of, manages to secure himself a ticket to Niflheim by signing his body away to the government as an expendable. What is an expendable, you ask? An expendable is, in this world, someone who is considered disposable, assigned to work any and all jobs that their superior assigns to them, no matter how dangerous, and if they die in the course of doing their job, they are simply cloned. And then they are sent back out to do their next job. Mickey 17's story primarily follows, you guessed it, Mickey 17, the 17th iteration of Mickey Barnes. During the course of his journey to Niflheim, Mickey has been brutally killed 16 separate times from various work-related injuries, some accidental and some intentional. See, because they've left Earth and are no longer forced to abide by governmental regulations and basic human decency, they have free rein to do whatever they want with their expendable workers, especially so because of the fact that they can just clone them if they die and start all over again. So not only does Mickey have to suffer work-related tragedies, he also has to put up with being a literal human guinea pig, being used as a test subject for nerve gas, poison, vaccinations, and alien atmospheres. It all serves as an interesting dark humor premise for the first major part of the film, which is mainly just a montage of the various horrible ways Mickey dies, contrasted with the complete lack of concern from all of the scientists who were responsible for cloning him and testing their projects on him. The montage is great, and it really showcases Bong Joon-ho's natural talent for dark humor, and it was this dark comedic premise which I assumed was going to be the main premise of the film, and it was this assumption which made me so excited to see it at all. In addition to this, trailers for the film made it seem as though another major conflict in the film was going to revolve around an 18th Mickey accidentally being cloned before Mickey 17 actually died. This results in the two Mickeys trying to discreetly kill each other before it is discovered that there are two of them, because there are strict laws against creating more than one clone of a person at a time, and any clones found in violation of this law will all be terminated. These are the two main plot points which the trailers led me to believe were going to be driving the movie. A man who is diminished to nothing more than a lab rat by an uncaring government who treat him as nothing more than an exposable drone due to the fact that they can just create more of him, and a renegade clone who must be eliminated before he is discovered and Mickey is permanently killed by the same uncaring government which has made his life a perpetual torment. Neither of these are the main plot of the film. As I mentioned before, the bulk of Mickey's time as a lab rat is relegated to a humorous montage at the beginning of the film, covering all of the Mickeys up to 17, and then launching into the duplicate plot, which seems like it will be the main conflict until the spaceship that the Mickeys are a part of comes into conflict with the aliens native to Niflheim, forcing the two Mickeys to become unlikely heroes as they attempt to prevent all-out war between the humans and the aliens, dubbed creepers in the film. So, the film basically devolves into a really generic action-adventure movie. Not really what I was looking for when I went to the theater. It's really frustrating because the film is clearly trying to communicate some of the themes which I assumed it was going to be touching on. Mark Ruffalo plays an incompetent, buffoonish, failed politician who is spearheading the expedition to Niflheim, who displays a petty and childish need to receive approval and adoration from the people in the ship he is leading, and simultaneously displaying complete and utter contempt for Mickey and the Creepers, treating Mickey like a second-class citizen because he is an expendable, and treating the aliens like they are mindless monsters, despite the fact that they are, spoiler alert if you're interested in seeing the movie, sentient and highly intelligent creatures capable of communication. Everyone on the ship eats the sci-fi equivalent of prison food, while Bruce Banner and his wife Toni Collette eat 5-star cuisine in their penthouse suite. But despite this, almost everyone on the ship showers the Incredible Hulk with praise because they were also supporters of his when he was still campaigning for office on Earth. The movie obviously has things to say about class disparity, celebrity mania, corruption in politics, and the like, but it's just juvenile. It's all incredibly obvious to the point of being boring and infantile. Like I said, the ship's crew live in squalor, indistinguishable from prisoners, while the politicians live the high life, but none of them care because they're so caught up in the mania of Mark Ruffalo's character. It's so obvious what the metaphor is, what Bong Joon-ho's opinions of celebrity politicians and their morality, or lack thereof, is, of his views of the government's ability to responsibly care for its citizens, that it's just boring. It feels more like a TED Talk than a film. And I'm saying all of this as someone who was enticed to watch the film because its trailers made it seem like it was going to be about a dude who gets killed over and over again by the government because they can just print a new version of him. After all, no need to take care of your workers if you can just reverse death whenever you want, right? I was expecting a movie that utilized a high-concept science fiction idea to take government oversight and worker exploitation to the most absurd levels possible. Or, alternatively, if I wasn't going to get a high-concept critique of government exploitation of workers, I was expecting a fun romp about two clones trying to kill each other in a sort of science fiction spy versus spy story. And what I got instead was Mark Ruffalo and his wife trying to turn aliens into food sauces. So we're already off on a bad foot, at least for me. I think this film was perfectly set up to make deeper points about the borderline sociopathic way governments view their citizens by creating a nightmare scenario where the government no longer has to regulate itself because it has essentially found a way to reverse death, and instead I got a movie about selfish buffoons trying to abuse and kill an alien species to turn them into sauce and profit off them. It's kind of like Avatar, except the humans trying to kill the aliens are really stupid. And also Robert Pattinson's in it.
Vampire Baby.
Twice. Well, 18 times, but you get the idea. The other thing that really frustrates me is the storytelling potential behind the idea of cloning the same man over and over. The film establishes that Mickey remembers everything that happened from his previous life every time he's cloned, which, by the way, doesn't really make sense because the movie explains that he has to get his memories downloaded into a hard drive every week so that when he's cloned again, the memories can be downloaded into the clone's body and his memories can pick up right where he left off, but you can't download his memories to the hard drive once he's died. It can only happen before, but he remembers every time he died for some reason which is never properly explained. Whatever, it just doesn't make sense that he's able to remember every time he died, but I'm willing to overlook it because it creates a really interesting storytelling opportunity. You see, Mickey 17 says more than once that he has never gotten used to dying, even though it has happened 16 times. He always hates it, but he's also clearly desensitized to it, accepting death readily when it comes because he knows he'll just be printed out in a new clone body the next day. I love this as a concept because it raises so many questions about the nature of consciousness and what makes you you. Think about it. If you're Mickey Barnes and you get killed, and then the next day Mickey 2 is printed out and gets your memories downloaded into his body, then that Mickey is technically you. I mean, his body is an exact copy of yours. His memories are exactly the same as yours. He thinks the same way you do because he's got the same biological brain as you. And he also has the same memories of the same life as you. So whether you believe in nature or nurture, he'd be exactly the same because he is by nature you and has been nurtured by the same life as you. But that's also not you. You are Mickey Barnes. You died the day before. Your body's decaying as we speak. But Mickey 2 is also Mickey Barnes, which means Mickey 2 is you, at least for that first second that he wakes up after being cloned. But from that second on, he's no longer you. He's living a different life from you. For one, he's living, and you're not. And he remembers dying, so that's going to affect the way he behaves going forward. He experienced something that you never experienced when you were Mickey 1. Mickey 2 has died, and now is living to tell the tale. So he's going to have a wildly different perspective on life than you did because of that. It's enough to make a grown man's head spin, but it's the kind of stuff which I think sci-fi is tailor-made to explore, and Mickey 17 is completely uninterested in doing so. The closest it gets is during the first confrontation with Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, when Mickey 17 says that for the first time since he was Mickey 1, he's afraid of dying. Now, stay with me here because this is a little bit difficult to explain, but Mickey 17 says that the reason he's afraid of dying now that he's met Mickey 18 is because now that there's a Mickey 18, if Mickey 17 dies, he's not going to get to continue as a new clone. The new clone is already there, and he's living a different life than Mickey 17, which means that if 17 dies, he's not going to get to wake up tomorrow. That's a luxury that 18 will have. He'll get to continue as Mickey 19 if he dies, but Mickey 17 is at the end of his run. No extra lives for him. Now, if you're having a bit of trouble following what Mickey is saying here, I don't blame you. It is a little bit hard to explain, even in essay form, let alone in dialogue form in a movie. But essentially what Mickey 17 is saying is that even though he technically doesn't continue, each Mickey doesn't get to continue after he dies. It's a clone. They're technically different people. Because Mickey's memories are transferred to each new clone, it feels virtually like you're the same person. Mickey 2 might not be the same as Mickey 1. They might be different people and be living different experiences, but Mickey 2 feels like he's Mickey 1. It feels virtually indistinguishable to him. In this scenario, it would be good to think of death like sleeping. Every time a Mickey dies, it's essentially him going to sleep for the night, and then he wakes up the next day. Yes, there's a gap in consciousness, whether it being in the form of sleep or in the form of death, but you get to continue the next day as if nothing happened. And that's the problem that Mickey 17 is facing when he's faced with Mickey 18. He's not going to get that anymore. The succession has happened. Mickey 18 has woken up the next day, and if Mickey 17 dies, he's not going to get to wake up like that. The memories won't continue forward. It will truly be the end for him, and Mickey 18 will be the one going on. It was this one scene which really made me realize just how badly Mickey 17, the movie, not the character, had dropped the ball. The most interesting part of this movie's premise was being completely ignored in favor of a generic adventure movie. And that was my thought when I was still under the assumption that the spy versus spy plot was going to be the main story, which would have been way better than what we actually got. This premise was tailor-made for the director and writer of Parasite to explore themes and ideas of life and death, identity and consciousness, of morality and government corruption, and it's all overlooked entirely. Also, let me be clear here, I don't think that Mickey 17 is a bad movie. I think it's an okay movie. It's like a solid 6 of 10, I think. If you see it on streaming on Netflix or on HBO or something, you should definitely check it out at least once, but I'm not sure it's something you need to pay to see in theaters or to rent, frankly. Which leads me to the nicest thing I'm probably going to say in this whole video. I really think that this movie is a testament to what a good filmmaker Bong Joon-ho is. I think for a lot of other directors, a solid 6 of 10 movie would not be upsetting at all. If Michael Bay makes a movie that's a solid 6 of 10, that's a good thing. I think it really speaks to what a talented man Bong Joon-ho is that a 6 of 10 movie from him is frustrating me this much. It baffles me that a movie by him would be so incredibly meh. So congratulations, sir. You set the bar so high for yourself that you weren't able to skirt by with a base hit on this one. I was expecting a home run, like all your other hits. Actually, I have one other positive thing to say. Robert Pattinson is phenomenal in this movie. Between this and The Batman, someday I'll probably see the lighthouse, he has pretty firmly cemented himself as one of my favorite actors working today, and I'm almost at the point where I would be willing to see a movie just because he's in it and for no other reason. I think there's a legitimate chance that if Pattinson weren't absolutely knocking it out of the park in this movie, if Mickey had been played by anyone else, I probably would have left the theater outright disliking it. He legitimately carries it in some places, and I am so impressed by him as a talent. And outside of those two specific compliments, I don't really have any more comments to give on the film. It is a perfectly serviceable action adventure film, which really wastes the premise and all the potency that its premise gives it. I like both of the Mickeys, 17 and 18. I don't know if that has more to do with Robert Pattinson than the writing, though. Although I don't want to completely discredit the writing, because I think that Mickey really is a genuinely good, sympathetic lead. He's a very good underdog, and there's a lot about him that I find very endearing, from how dopey he can be and how sort of harmless he comes off. The writing for his character and Robert Pattinson's performance really complement each other well in creating this character who really feels like he's kind of just over everything. Like, he's never been a very smart guy, and he's never been a very resourceful guy, and that's kind of just exacerbated by the fact that he's died 16 times in the last, month or so. And so he really just comes off as sort of this guy who's over it entirely. But not over it in the sense of an 80s action hero, more in the sense of, an 80s nerd, if that makes sense. He's accepted that his lot in the universe is to just die over and over again, to be the universe's punching bag and continually shoved in the locker, and he kind of just goes through his entire life in that black-pilled malaise until he is sort of galvanized into going on his adventure with his clone, Mickey 18, who pushes him to be more assertive. Which, as a side note, I also wasn't a fan of the fact that the montage sort of establishes at the beginning of the film that Mickey's personality sort of remains intact, because even though each Mickey clone is living a different life than the previous one, they're all still Mickey. Like, none of them have gone through enough experiences to change who he is as a person radically. But then when Mickey 18 is introduced, he's very assertive, he's very rude, he's much more confident than any of the other Mickeys have been, and that's a source of strife between him and Mickey 17, because he's very domineering and Mickey 17 is very submissive, and I wasn't a huge fan of that, because I didn't feel like that was sort of the dynamic they had been setting up earlier in the movie. Like, I like the idea that each Mickey is different than the previous one because they've all had different experiences, but that wasn't something that they really established until Mickey 18 showed up, and they tried to explain it away with a throwaway bit of dialogue that every Mickey has been a little bit different, but they didn't really show that. It was obvious they just had an idea for Mickey 18 that didn't jive with the way they'd written the other Mickeys in the opening montage of him dying. Aside from that, I don't really have much of an interest in talking about the plot of this film in depth or really summarizing it. I've done as much summarizing of the plot as I really want to at this point. My main concern in this video is outlining the fact that I think this movie could have been way better if it had focused its efforts on something other than Mark Ruffalo being a buffoon of a politician. This could have been an opportunity for a really good story about what it means to be you, what it means to be alive, what it means to be conscious, what it means for sort of your nature and your nurture together to create the person that you are. And if you don't want to tell that sort of high concept story, you can fall back on telling a really interesting dark humor story about a government finding new and interesting and inhumane ways to abuse and take advantage of its employees because they don't have to worry about worker regulations or death, because you can just clone the guy. What do we care if he dies, right? And if even that is too much, you can just tell a funny spy versus spy story about two clones of the same guy trying to kill each other, and they're both kind of stupid. But instead, we just got a movie And that's about all I really feel passionate to say about it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and especially so if you stayed until the end. I hope you found it to be a favorable experience.